An athletic director entrusted with dozens of young children is accused of sexually abusing more than a dozen young boys.
Unfortunate to hear. Fox 5's Kayla Mamlek joins us now with that story. Kayla, what can you tell us?
Well, Bianca and Reagan, for decades, James, or Jimmy Collins, was a staple in the northern Westchester County community. He coached Little League, mentored young boys, and worked at local schools. Now more than a dozen men are coming forward, alleging that all the while, Jimmy Collins was sexually abusing them.
I never really looked at age difference before. You know, maybe always been a kid. No, no.
You're listening to what Greg Ardanowski says is the moment he confronted his abuser.
I didn't realize what happened to me until later on in life. 48 years old, actually.
Some 35 years after Ardanowski alleges James, or Jimmy Collins, started to sexually assault him. The then 13-year-old played baseball for the town of Mount Kisco's Pony League. Mr. Collins was his coach. The abuse continues, Ardanowski says, for 3 more years at various locations, including the Boys Club of Mount Kisco, now called the Boys and Girls Club of Northern Westchester.
The case with me, I absolutely adored Jimmy. I love the guy, and I met him when I was 10. He was my little league coach, and he continued to be my coach for 6 years. So he's a very big part of my childhood.
Similar gut-wrenching accounts are now being told decades later by more than a dozen men.
You don't know where the line is because there was no line. You didn't have that information in your head or that experience or someone to tell you, hey, that's not wrong.
Scott Roth says he was 13 when the abuse began.
It starts simple things, telling a joke or including you in on a secret that someone else doesn't know. And then it graduates to, arm around the shoulder or, massaging your shoulders and or providing you alcohol, talking about things in sexual nature, showing you things.
Jimmy Collins, now named in a Child Victims Act lawsuit, stands accused of carrying out acts of sexual abuse on a number of boys at the Memorial Pool at Leonard Park in Mount Kisco, the Boys and Girls Club, a high school, and at Collins's own home in Westchester County during the 1980s.
The man who you loved and always said that he loved you back, he was only doing it for really one purpose.
Ardanowski and Roth are 2 of 17 plaintiffs in the case. Saul Wolf is their attorney.
It sounds awful, but it's easy pickings for these guys. And especially when there's no one watching from the Boys and Girls Club, there's no one watching from the village. Jimmy Collins literally had access to everything. He had keys to every room. He had access to the Boys Club. He had access to all these facilities at Leonard Park. And he had carte blanche ability to do whatever he wanted with these children.
It's why Wolf says Jimmy Collins is not the only defendant. The Boys and Girls Club and the village of Mount Kisco also among the names listed in this suit.
Who knew what when? And frankly, if the defense is we didn't know, then no one was paying attention.
In a statement, a spokesperson for the Boys and Girls Club writing in part, "It is our understanding that this individual was employed by the city of Mount Kisco as a camp counselor rather than the former Boys and Girls Club Mount Kisco or Boys and Girls Club Northern Westchester. Regardless of association, crimes of abuse run counter to everything our mission stands for, and no harm should come to any child under any circumstance." The attorney representing the village of Mount Kisco, meantime, saying the lawsuit involves allegations of conduct that is claimed to have occurred decades ago. The village takes the lawsuit very seriously as the allegations are contrary to the values of our community. Several calls and emails placed to all other defendants, including to Collins and his legal representation, have been left unanswered.
Really, didn't separate the whole age thing and should have known better than that.
Making matters more complicated, the lawsuit claims Collins had been working at schools in the Westchester area as a bus driver and janitor until he was named in the civil suit.
There can be no more silence about any of these things happening, and certainly with Jimmy Collins, what we found is there are a lot more survivors out there that are not even part of this case.
Hawthorne Cedar Knolls Academy confirming to the Journal News that Collins worked in the district until September of 2020 when the lawsuit was first announced. But no reason was provided for his resignation.
Because they don't change. people who do this. They don't. You don't change who you are.
What do you want most to come of this lawsuit?
If there are teenagers, young adult men that have been affected by Jimmy, I just like for them to know that they're not alone. We didn't say anything back then because we didn't know any better, and I wish there was an adult in my life who did. And as I wish that I think I should try to do that now for kids who might be going through the same.
According to Child USA, the average age at the time of reporting child sex abuse is about 52 years old. But in New York, the statute of limitations is 20 years, meaning these men have no opportunity to press criminal charges. And right now, Jimmy Collins faces no possibility of jail time. Reagan, Bianca.
And how brave for these men to step forward.
Absolutely.
Kayla, thanks so much for that report.
All right. Well, time now.